Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudiraya.
Tato Jayamudiraya.
For reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam to the needs of conquest, one should offer respect and obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. So we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, Text 19. So I'll do the Sanskrit first. Sort of. Na yujyamanaya bhaktya. Na yujyamanaya bhaktya. Bhagavati yakilatmani. Bhagavati yakilatmani. Sadrishosti Shiva Panta.
Sadrishosti Shiva Panta.
Sadrishosti Shiva Panta.
Sadrishosti Shiva Panta.
Yoginam Brahmasidhaye.
Yoginam Brahmasidhaye.
Yoginam Brahmasidhaye.
Yoginam Brahmasidhaye.
Yujyamanaya bhaktya.
Yujyamanaya bhaktya.
Bhagavatya kilatmani.
Bhagavatya kilatmani.
Sadrishosti Shiva Panta.
Sadrishosti Shiva Panta.
Yoginam Brahmasidhaye.
Yoginam Brahmasidhaye.
Yujyamanaya bhaktya.
Yujyamanaya bhaktya.
Bhagavatya kilatmani.
Bhagavatya kilatmani.
Sadrishosti Shiva Panta.
Sadrishosti Shiva Panta.
Yoginam Brahmasidhaye.
Yoginam Brahmasidhaye.
Yujyamanaya bhaktya.
Yujyamanaya bhaktya. Bhagavatya kilatmani.
Sadrishosti Shiva Panta.
Sadrishosti Shiva Panta.
Yoginam Brahmasidhaye.
Yoginam Brahmasidhaye.
Yujyamanaya bhaktya.
Yujyamanaya bhaktya.
Bhagavatya Atmani.
Bhagavatya kilatmani.
Sadrishosti Shiva Panta.
Sadrishosti Shiva Panta.
Yoginam Brahmasidhaye.
Yoginam Brahmasidhaye.
Yujyamanaya bhaktya.
Yujyamanaya bhaktya.
Bhagavatya Kilatmani.
Bhagavatya kilatmani.
Sadrishosti Shiva Panta.
Sadrishosti Shiva Panta.
Yoginam Brahmasidhaye.
Yoginam Brahmasidhaye.
Na yujyamanaya bhaktya.
Yujyamanaya bhaktya.
Bhagavatya kilatmani.
Bhagavatya kilatmani.
Sadrishosti Shiva Panta.
Sadrishosti Shiva Panta.
Yoginam Brahmasidhaye.
Yoginam Brahmasidhaye.
Na yujyamanaya bhaktya.
Yujyamanaya bhaktya.
Bhagavati akilatmani.
Bhagavatya kilatmani.
Sadrishosti
Sadrishosti Shiva Panta
Yoginam Brahma Siddhaye.
Yoginam Brahma Siddhaye
Na, not. Yujyamanaya,
Yujamanaya
being performed. Bhaktya,
Bhaktya
devotional service.
Devotional service
Bhagavati, towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Towards the Supreme Personality of
Akila Atmani,
Akila Atmani
the Super Soul.
the Super Soul
Sadrisha,
Sadrisha
like. Asti, there is. Shiva, auspicious. Panta, path. Yoginam, of the yogis. Brahmasiddhaye, for perfection in self-realization. Translation: perfection in self-realization cannot be attained by any kind of yogi unless he engages in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for that is the only auspicious path.
Нито един йоги не може да постигне съвършенство в себепознанието, ако не се занимава с предано служение на Върховната Божествена Личност, защото преданото служение е единственият благотворен път.
So how many English speakers? Good. Really? Can you read the purple?
Read the purple.
English is okay? Good enough? Yeah? Thank you. I'll try and get some involvement, so, different ways. Thank you.
Purport. That knowledge and renunciation are never perfect unless joined by devotional service is explicitly explained here. Na yunjita manaya means without being dovetailed. When there is devotional service, then the question is where to offer that service. Devotional service is to be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the super soul of everything, for that is the only reliable path of self-realization, or Brahman realization. The word Brahma Siddhaye means to understand oneself to be different from matter, to understand oneself to be Brahman. The Vedic words are Aham Brahmasmi. Brahma Siddhi means that one should know that he is not matter, he is pure soul. There are different kinds of yogis, but every yogi is supposed to engage in self-realization or Brahman realization. It is clearly stated here that unless one is fully engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot have easy approach to the path of Brahma Siddhi.
Тук ясно е казано, че знанието и отречението не са съвършени, ако не са придружени от предано служене. На юджиаманея означава, ако не са съчетани с. Когато говорим за предано служене, трябва да посочим на кого се предлага това служене. Преданото служене трябва да се предлага на Върховната Божествена Личност, свръхдушата на всичко съществуващо. Защото служенето на Върховния е единственият сигурен път за постигане на себепознание или за осъзнаване на Брахман. Думата Брахма Сидхая означава човек да разбере, че се различава от материята. Т.е. да разбере, че е Брахман. Във Ведите е казано Ахам Брахмасме. Брахма Сидhi, човек трябва да осъзнае, че не е материя, а чиста душа. Има различни видове йоги, но всички те се стремят към себепознание, т.е. към осъзнаване на Брахман. В тази строфа ясно се казва, че докато човек не се посвети изцяло на предано служение на Върховната Божествена Личност, той много трудно ще може да постигне пътя на Брахма Сидhi.
Do you want to let someone else read the second paragraph? Anyone? Pass it. Can you read it? Over?
In the beginning of the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that when one engages himself in devotional service of Vasudeva, spiritual knowledge and renunciation of the material world automatically become manifest. Thus, a devotee doesn't have to try separately for renunciation or knowledge. Devotional service itself is so powerful that by one's service attitude everything is revealed. It is stated here, Shiva Panata, this is the only auspicious path for self-realization. The path of devotional service is the most confidential means for attaining Brahman realization. That perfection in Brahman realization is attained through the auspicious path of devotional service. That indicates that the so-called Brahman realization or realization of the Brahma Jyoti effulgence is not Brahma Siddhi. Beyond that Brahma Jyoti, there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Upanishads, a devotee prays to the Lord to kindly put aside the effulgence Brahma Jyoti so that the devotee may see within the Brahma Jyoti the actual eternal form of the Lord. Unless one attains realization of the transcendental form of the Lord, there is no question of bhakti. Bhakti necessitates the existence of the recipient of devotional service and the devotee who renders devotional service. Brahma Siddhi through devotional service is realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The understanding of the effulgent rays of the body of the Supreme Godhead is not the perfect stage of Brahma Siddhi or Brahma realization, nor is the realization of the Paramatma feature of the Supreme Person perfect. For Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Akhilatma, he is the Super Soul. One who realizes the Supreme Personality realizes the other features, namely the Paramatma feature and the Brahma feature, and the total realization is Brahma Siddhi.
В началото на втора глава от песен на Шримад Бхагаватам се казва, че когато човек отдава предано служение на Васудева, духовното знание и отречението от материалния свят идват от само себе си. Това значи, че преданият не е длъжен да полага отделни усилия, за да постигне отреченост или знание. Преданото служение само по себе си е толкова могъщо, че пред този, който служи на Бога, се откриват всички истини. Тази строфа е казано и Шива Пантха, че това е единственият благотворен път за постигане на самопознание. Пътят на преданото служение е най-сигурното средство за осъзнаване на Браман. Това, че съвършенството в осъзнаването на Браман се постига само чрез благотворния път на преданото служение, показва, че така нареченото осъзнаване на Браман, т.е. осъзнаването на сиянието Брахма Джиоти, не е Брахма Сидхи. Отвъд Брахма Джиоти се намира върховната божествена личност. В Упанишадите има молитва, с която преданият се моли Бога да отстрани сиянието си Брахма Джиоти, за да може той да види истинската му вечна форма, скрита за това сияние. Докато човек не осъзнае трансценденталната форма на Бога, не може да става дума за бхакти. Бхакти предполага наличието на обект, който приема преданото служение, и предан, който отдава предано служение. Брахма Сидхи, съвършенството, което се постига чрез предано служение, е осъзнаването на върховната божествена личност. Осъзнаването на сиянието от тялото на Върховния Бог не е съвършено равнище в осъзнаването на Браман, Брахма Сидхи. Осъзнаването на аспекта Параматма на върховната личност също не е най-висшето съвършенство, защото свръх душата на всичко съществуващо Акилатма е Бхагаван, върховната божествена личност. Но този, който осъзнае Бога като върховна личност, осъзнава и останалите му аспекти Параматма и Браман, и това цялостно знание се нарича Брахма Сидхи.
So thank you very much for allowing me to speak here today. I hope I can do it justice. So before I commence, I want to say that this is a very long purport, and I personally would not be capable of giving a class on the entirety of this purport in one single day, in 1 hour. Generally, as I study the books and go through the purports, I do so using a method of studying them deeply, discussing each sentence, each point really. And I think this would probably take, my wife and I do this every day, half an hour, depending on what's available. This would take around a month for us to get through. So So I'm not going to attempt to unpack the entire purport. In fact, I'll be surprised if we get past the verse itself. So well, let's see how we go.
Това е доста дълъг коментар и не бих поел риска да се опитам да говоря за целият коментар, защото моят метод е да се опитам да вникна в дълбочина във всяко едно изречение и това предполагам, че ще ми отнеме на мен и съпругата ми повече от месец, за да обсъдим целият коментар. Може би ще успеем да дискутираме само стиха днес.
So what I'm going to do to begin with, and I'll explain what this is about in a second, is understand the translation, give my understanding at least of what the translation means.
Като начало ще се опитам да дам моето разбиране за преводът на стиха.
And whilst doing that, I will call upon, say, one man and one lady to reflect back what they've understood me to say.
И когато го правя, ще помоля по някои предани да казват какво са разбрали от това, което аз съм обяснил.
Keep you on your toes.
Така че поддържайте внимание.
Is there a Bulgarian equivalent?
I just said keep your attention.
Keep your attention. Yeah, attention, because the Bhagavatam, in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami, who is the reciter of the Bhagavatam,
Първа песен Сута Госвами, който рецитира Бхагаватам,
says that his only qualification for understanding and being able to speak Srimad Bhagavatam is that he heard it with rapt attention.
Той казва, че единственото му качество да рецитира Бхагаватам е, че той го е чул с голямо внимание.
He uses the word nivishta, which means very good hearing.
Думата, която използва нирвишта, означава много внимателно слушане.
So, when we discuss the Bhagavatam, the way we try to achieve that, because it's difficult to give rapt attention, the way we try to achieve that is by understanding, reflecting back in the first instance, each other's understandings.
Понеже е трудно да имаме такова силно внимание, когато обсъждаме Бхагаватам, ние взаимно споделяме обратно какво сме разбрали.
Because actually in the purport of Srimad, of that verse in the first canto, 1.3.44, Prabhupada says that simple hearing is not enough. One must hear with rapt attention.
Защото в коментара към този текст Шрила Прабхупад обяснява, че простото слушане не е достатъчно, човек трябва да слуша много внимателно.
And actually, if we do that, then Prabhupada says in that purport we can see Krishna in the pages of the Bhagavatam.
И ако го направим, казва Шрила Прабхупад, ще можем да видим Кришна на страниците на Бхагаватам.
And that's what we want.
Това, което искаме.
There's a great treasure in Prabhupada's books that we can access. We just need the tools to do that.
Има огромно съкровище в книгите на Шрила Прабхупад и ние можем да го достигнем, ако знаем, ако имаме инструмента за това.
So I'm going to show you how I try to do that, starting with the verse. Now, the reason these are evidences which I've put down here to support my understandings of the verse.
И на листата, които сме раздали, са доказателствата, които съм събрал.
No, that's
за
okay.
да
You may have to pass them around.
One more.
You pass back there to the ladies. We've got some more here now.
за да подкрепя моето разбиране към стиха.
And I'll ask you to read these as we get to them. Okay, so the first point I see in the verse, Prabhupada says perfection in self-realization. I understand that to mean understanding who I am beyond the modes of nature, beyond the material energy, that I'm something different from the body I inhabit.
Първият момент е какво означава съвършенство в себепознанието. Аз го разбирам, че Това е разбирането или осъзнаването на моята същност като отвъд нещо, което е отвъд материалните гуни, като душа различна от тялото.
And not just understanding theoretically, but this is siddhi, perfection. So to actually perceive that becomes my paradigm, my conception, my worldview.
И какво означава разбиране? Не просто разбиране, дълбоко осъзнаване, сиди, означава съвършенство. Това се превръща в моят светоглед.
So can someone reflect that back?
Някой може ли да
Did
сподели?
you hear? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
На български ли? Да. Окей.
You can say in Bulgarian.
Да осъзнаем, че не сме просто тела, а че сме души, които сме нещо различно от тия тела. И да го осъзнаем не просто на теория, а наистина да разбираме, че сме нещо различно от гуните на материалната природа.
To understand this means to not just theoretically know that we are not the body, but to really realize that we are something different than the modes of material nature.
Thank you. One of the ladies? Whose English is good? Yeah?
To achieve perfection is to realize that we're not the body, we're a spirit soul, and it's not enough just to know it in our heads, but to really live it, to know it with all our heart and existence, and apply it in our life. And this to be our paradigm, our worldview.
Very good. You've done this before.
Yes.
You've been trained up. Thank you very much. And okay, why do I say that? Because in the purport, if you look at the first evidence, Prabhupada says, I'm not going to read it, I'm going to ask someone who's got the sheet, anyone who's got the sheet to... Stunning, are you stunning? Can you read it, Prabhu?
The first one?
Yeah.
The word Brahma Siddhi means to understand oneself to be different from matter, to understand oneself to be Brahman. The Vedic words are Aham Brahmasmi. Brahma Siddhi should know that he is not matter, he is pure soul. There are different kinds of yogis, but every yogi is supposed to engage in self-realization or Brahma realization. It is clearly stated here that unless one is fully engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot have easy approach to the path of Brahma Siddhi.
Thank you. The Prabhupada, I understand, is defining it here, so that's my understanding.
Тук Шила Прабхупад дефинира какво е Брахма Сидhi, това е моето разбиране.
And I've referenced Gita verse 1854 here, which I haven't put on the sheet, so I won't read it, but for your own reference in your own time, that also gives a definition of Brahma Siddhi, Brahma Bhuta.
Аз съм отбелязал стиха от Бхагавад Гита 1854, което може да погледнете отделно, където има също дефиниция на това състояние на Брахма Сидhi или Брахма Бhuta.
So, cannot be attained, Brahma Siddhi, perfection in self-realization, cannot be attained by any kind of yogi. Okay, what does he mean by any kind of yogi? Is the first question.
Брахма Сидhi не може да бъде разбран от никакъв вид йоги. Какво означава това?
So, I understand that there are various types of yogis, karma yogi, jnana yogi, ashtanga yogi, and bhakti yogi.
Аз разбирам, че има 4 вида йоги: карма, гьяна, аштанга и бхакти.
The karma yogi is performing sacrifices, varnashram dham, with a view to achieve salvation.
Един карма йоги извършва жертвоприношение и следва варнашрама с идеята да постигне освобождение.
Maybe I should get that reflected. Any men who heard that? Anyone?
Някой да сподели какво е разбрал?
Dulcie, you look like you want to say something.
Има различни видове йоги. Карма йоги, дhyana йоги, аштанга йоги, бхакти йоги. И един карма йоги, той се занимава следва различните предписания на Варна Шама Дхарма.
So there are different types of yogis, and the karma yogi is following different regulations in the Varnashram Dharma.
Thank you. One of the ladies. Did he? Yeah.
So there are different types of yogis. We have karma yogis, dhyana yogis, ashtanga yogis, and bhakti yogis. Karma yogis, they engage in doing yagyas for the sake of getting salvation in their life.
Thank you very much. Another one has been trained up. And then there's the Jnana Yogi. Now that I understand is a person who practices austerity, is interested in studying the Vedas, and has faith in the Absolute, and is performing austerities usually in order to approach the Absolute. He's the person who's like understanding the difference between matter and spirit. Prabhupada says sometimes, neti, not this, not that, I'm not anything, until he understands who he really is.
Един гьяна йоги се опитва да култивира знание и за тази цел той извършва въздържание, отречение, за да може да постигне това разбиране за неговата същност, различна от материята, и Шрила Прабхупад казва обикновено това е чрез процесът на нети, на отхвърляне на това, което не е, докато осъзнае духовната си същност.
I better let that get reflected back by anyone who would like to have a go.
Който иска да споделя.
No? Sorry, I want to put you on the spot. Yeah?
Значи, този вид йоги, той разчита да получи себе осъзнаване чрез трупане на знание. И така, той отделя това, което не е, нещата, които не е, отпадат, за да получи, за да се реализация, да стигне се реализация.
This type of yogi develops self-realization through rejecting those things which are not himself until he reaches the point of self-realization.
Thank you. A lady?
Jnana Yogi. Empirical philosophy, not so much bhakti, maybe leaning towards impersonalism possibly.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. And then the third kind is the classic yogi. He practices Ashtanga, probably not the same as you do it here, but Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahara, and Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. You don't have to remember those 8. But there are 8 limbs. Ashtanga means 8 limbs of yoga, and they also are trying to realize the Absolute, but their conception is usually Paramatma.
Един аштанга йоги следва осморния път на йога и тяхната цел обикновено е да осъзнаят Абсолюта в формата на Параматма.
Yeah, and they follow a process often given by Patanjali, the Yoga Sutras.
Те следват процеса, описан от Патанджали в Йога Сутри.
So would someone like to reflect that one back? Turn it on.
Thank you. The third type of yogis is Ashtanga yogis, or the one who follows the eightfold path of yoga, which is Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. They usually follow the Patanjali Muni who systemized this yoga system, and their goal or their understanding is that they should focus on Paramatma, this specific realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Thank you, that's perfect. Okay, so moving on. So those are the kinds of yogis I understand Prabhupada is referring to. Unless he engages in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I understand here that he's saying that no matter what they're practicing, if it be karma, varnashram, if it be austerity, study of the Vedas, or meditation, yoga, they will not achieve their desired goal unless it includes the element of bhakti.
Какво означава, ако не е заед с предано служение на Върховния? Моето разбиране е, че независимо какъв процес следва, дали е жертвоприношение, извършване на следване на варнашрама, извършване на различни видове аскетизъм или пък развиване на знание, този йоги няма да постигне желаната цел, ако няма някакъв елемент на бхакти.
Reflections?
Докато няма бхакти, включена в процеса на йога, предписано в верите, каквото и да следва един йоги, всъщност няма да може да постигне тази цел.
Unless there is no bhakti, whatever process one follows recommended will not be attained by the desired goal.
Thank you. One of the ladies? Yeah?
Без любов към Бога нищо не става.
Without love for
Каквото и
God,
да прави човек.
whatever the yogi does, it will not be successful.
Thank you. So you, I like your understanding very nicely, and you unpacked what is bhakti. You called it love of God. So that's I didn't define bhakti, which I'm about to try and do, but you said bhakti means love of God. So that's good.
Ти каза вече какво е бхакти, това смята да го обясня. Ти каза, че бхакти е любов към Бога.
Okay. So, for that is the only auspicious path, the last part of the verse, Shiva Panta, that by that, what do I understand? I understand that no other path can do you good. The only auspicious, I understand auspicious means that which is beneficial, which is good. So I understand this is saying that without bhakti, only bhakti can give you any benefit. Nothing else can actually benefit you.
Защото преданото служение е единственият благотворен път. Какво означава това? Аз разбирам, че единствената дейност, която ще ви донесе благо или добро или нещо полезно, това е преданото служение.
The hole in the road.
Go ahead.
There's a hole in the road, and it can only be filled with the process of devotional service. All other way solutions will not help.
Thank you for that's a creative understanding. Who? The lady. The message you hear? Did you hear? Would you like to reflect that?
Bhakti is the only way to get mercy.
Pardon me?
Bhakti yoga is the only way to get benefit, mercy.
To get mercy, benefit. Thank you.
Бхакти е единственият път, за да получим полза или милост.
So that's my understanding. Now, after the understanding comes the response. So generally, the way I recommend responses are done is, first of all, do I have any doubts about this? In the word, does it make sense? Do the words make sense to me? first question. What we're trying to do is to learn how to think rather than what to think. So how to bring out the meaning of the verses and of the purports of everything.
След като сме дискутирали значението, се опитваме да разберем дали това има смисъл, как да вникнем в дълбочина. И това, което се опитваме да направим, е да се научим как да мислим, а не какво да мислим. Как да разберем смисъла на стиховете.
So that's achieved by questions, by asking the first question, which is, does it make sense?
И това става, когато се задаваме въпроси. Първият е дали има смисъл, дали го разбирам.
So to me it makes sense. So then the next question is there, first of all, to unpack the meaning more deeply. So the one thing I've tried to do here is, what is bhakti? Mataji, what was her name? Theodora said that bhakti means love of God. So my question would be, what does Prabhupada mean when he says, unless he engages in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead? What does he mean by that?
Въпросът ми е какво Шрила Прабхупада има предвид, когато казва, ако не е зает с предано служение на Върховния.
And to me, bhakti is defined in the Srimad Bhagavatam itself in the 7th canto.
За мен в седма песен на Бхагаватам е дадена ясна дефиниция на бхакти.
So could somebody read number 2?
Някой може да прочете номер 2.
Radha Maharaja said, hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto him. In other words, serving him with the body, mind, and word. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. Srimad Bhagavatam 7:5-23-24.
Thank
you. Пралад Махарадж каза, слушането, възпяването за трансценденталното свято име, форма, качества, принадлежности и забавление на Бог Вишну, помненето им, служенето в лотосовите нозе на Бога, отдаване на Бога на почтително обожание с 16 вида принадлежности, отдаване на молитви, ставане на Него слуга, считане себе си за Бога за най-добър приятел, отдаването на всичко на Него, скоби, други думи, служенето му с тяло, ум и думи, тези 9 процеса са приемане за чисто предано служене.
Thank you. And my understanding also is that bhakti begins with, as stated here, Shravanam and Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, and that these are the primary angas, or the main limbs, the most important practices of bhakti.
Моето разбиране е, че бхакти започва с тези първи 2 процеса, слушане и възпяване, най-важните от 8-те вида предано служене.
Can we get that reflected? Brother Krishna, you want it?
I had some kind of question, but there was some contradiction I'm seeing, because what's explained there is that only the bhakti yogis can understand the truth, and if the other processes are not mixed with bhakti, then they won't produce the result. So this is a contradiction, because the other bhaktas, they don't, like the other yogis, they do not understand the Supreme Person. So how would they mix bhakti in the process if they don't understand the Supreme? For me, it's a very...
Okay, thanks for that. That's a very good question. But I'd like to car park that for the moment, because what we're trying to do first is go through the understanding. At the moment, we're going through the first level of response, which is, what does Prabhupada really mean? And this may be a doubt or a confusion, which comes a bit later. So, I think that's a question worth asking, but we'll leave it for after, yeah. But could someone just reflect back what I said, one of the ladies maybe? Remember?
Just give me a little thing, because that took my mind away. Just give me a hint again.
What is the primary?
Okay, you say, you understand from this quote that from Prahlad Maharaj's primary practices of bhakti are Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing and speaking, hearing and glorifying, and that these are the first and most important angas or processes of devotional service.
Yeah, thank you very much. And there's an evidence in the purport of the verse that we just read, which supports that. If someone's got the sheet, they'd like to read that, number 3.
Shravanam, hearing of the holy name of the Lord. Shravanam is the beginning of devotional service. Although any one of the 9 processes is sufficient, in chronological order, the hearing of the holy name of the Lord is the beginning. Indeed, it is essential. Unless one hears about the holy name, form, and qualities of the Lord, one cannot clearly understand the other process of devotional service. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.23 purport.
Шрадвам, слушането на святото име на Бога е началото на преданото служене. Въпреки че всеки един от 9 процеса е достатъчен, в хронологически ред слушането на святото име на Бога е началото. Наистина, то е много важно и най-важно. Докато човек не слуша за святото име, форма и качество на Бога, не може ясно да разбере другите процеси на преданото служене.
Thank you. So, I understand then that what's being said here is that unless any yogi, doesn't matter who he is or what his practices are, includes in his practice hearing and chanting about Krishna, he won't achieve success in his practice.
Това, което разбираме, че независимо каква йога практикува, човек, ако не включи в практиката си слушането за Кришна, няма да постигне успех.
Krishna also means Vishnu, right? But about the supreme personality of Godhead.
Кришна или Вишну, Нараян, за върховната божествена личност.
Someone like to reflect that back? Anyone? Want to go?
If one does not include Shravanam Kirtanam in one's practices, then one will not be successful.
Thank you, Prabhu. And one of the Mataji?
Can you translate?
Oh, yes.
Ако някой не включи Шраванам в своята практика, няма да има успех.
This Mataji? That's okay. Mira?
Without hearing and chanting the names of the Lord, one cannot achieve success. Any other type of yoga or practice.
Thank you very much. So, from that, I further understand that this is like the active ingredient in yoga, that, whatever you're trying to accomplish, unless you have this ingredient, you're wasting your time.
Аз разбирам, че това всъщност практиката на бхакти е активният принцип във всяка йога практика и ако не бъде включена в нея, човек няма да има успех.
Yeah, someone? Anyone? Paul?
It's without including this chanting and everything, the name that you can't progress without that.
Thank you very much.
Не може да прогресираме, ако не включим слушането.
Без бхакти йога, всеки вид йога е безсмислен, не може да се прогресира.
Without bhakti, other types of yogas are meaningless. One cannot progress with them.
Thank you very much, yeah. So, I mean, this could go, deeper and further, but I want to take it to the next level, which is another response. Do I have any doubts or confusions arising from my understanding? Does it contradict anything I think I already know? Or is it something which I find difficult to actually comprehend?
Следващия етап е да обмислим дали имам някакви съмнения в това, което обсъдим до сега, дали намирам някакво противоречие в разбирането.
Yeah, would someone like to reflect? Krishna.
I have another question.
No, questions must come later.
Въпросите са малко по-късно.
You asked if there is any contradiction, so I found second one. I want to park it if you don't want to answer it now.
We'll come to it in a second. We're just going through understandings and reflections, but we'll if we've time.
It's in the context, but
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's very good. You're thinking. That's,
The one-to-one you should do again.
yeah. Okay.
no, I think it's good for everyone to hear.
Okay. No, that's all right. But just the reflection right now. Perhaps I should say that again. My question is that. Did someone hear me? Yeah.
You say, now you want to take it to the next level of your thought process, and you want to ask, do I have any doubts? Does what you've heard so far, does it contradict anything you know, or did you find anything confusing about what you've just heard?
Thank you. And one doubt it would raise for me, or one question, is the process of devotional service is the active, powerful ingredient in yoga. Then I'm practicing bhakti. Am I practicing bhakti? Am I achieving the result? Am I making progress? Because I'm not doing anything else. I'm not doing austerity at all. I'm not doing yoga, although I might give it a try this morning, or anything. But I'm focused on bhakti, so that would make me introspect. Well, am I actually achieving the success? Am I progressing and achieving Brahma Siddhi?
Един въпрос, който възникна в мен е дали, ако активната съставка във всеки процес на йога е бхакти и аз практикувам бхакти, всъщност практикувам само бхакти, не извършвам отречение, нито пък друг тип йога, дали аз постигам резултатът, който е Брахма Сидhi?
Would someone like to reflect that, Prabhu? Yeah.
The doubt comes to you that I'm practicing only Bhakti Yoga, no austerities and no yoga, and but am I making progress?
Thank you. You want to go?
So you're wondering, okay, I'm trying to practice bhakti. I'm doing this. I hear, I do Shravanam Kirtanam. I don't do any other processes, but is it true that I really progress? Is it really working on me? Is it efficient?
Thank you. So I would then seek evidences as to what are the symptoms. If the process of bhakti is Shravanam Kirtanam, then what are the symptoms that I am actually making advancement, actually making progress? What should I look for?
Ако процесът на бхакти е слушане и възпяване, какви ще са симптомите за това дали аз наистина напредвам по пътя?
Someone like to catch that? Yeah, Prabhu.
You're wondering that if you are actually being successful, then what would be the proof of the evidence that you are being successful?
Thank you.
Ако наистина напредваме или постигаме успех, какво ще е доказателството, че постигаме успех?
Matthew, what?
Yes, you are looking for the symptoms that you are really progressing in the process that you are doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ще имаме силата да ентусиазираме много хора в бхакти йога.
даваш отговора.
Да.
She's
Oh.
Who will have the strength to make other people enthusiastic about your bhakti?
Okay, so that's a response from your side, which is good. But that's a couple of steps on. So, that's okay. We need to go through systematically to achieve the result. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I've produced an evidence here, which like that's something that there's many things one could say. What are the symptoms? But here's something relevant because it's also by Lord Kapila, evidence number 4. Would someone like to read that? Yeah. Anyone who's got the sheet? Yeah.
The association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and therefore, after he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed, then real devotion and devotional service begin.
В обществото на чисти предани, обсъждането на забавленията и дейностите на Бога е много удовлетворяващо и радва слуха и сърцето. Като развива такова знание, човек постепенно напредва по пътя към освобождението, а когато постигне освобождение, привързаността му към Бога става устойчива. Тогава започва истинската преданост и истинското правилно служение.
Okay, so the first thing in this verse that, in terms of the symptom that my hearing and chanting is effective, is that it's Hritkana Rasayana, that it's pleasing to the ear and the heart. So it should be an enjoyable process, that I'm gaining this joy, this pleasure, this satisfaction from engaging in hearing and chanting.
Първият симптом за успеха в слушането и възпяването е даден тук като Хриткана Расаяна. Това, което радва слухът и ухото. Тоест, нали, процеса, който следваме, ще ни дава щастие и радост.
So yeah, we'll reflect that back. Prabhu?
Разбрали?
Doesn't matter. Tulsi?
One of the symptoms, if the process is really working, is that when we are hearing and chanting the glories of Krishna, we should feel satisfaction.
Yeah. And one of the messages? Yes.
So you feel, as probably said, you feel happy, satisfaction, and your attraction is fixed on Krishna. You enjoy that, you take pleasure from that.
Thank you.
It becomes your source of happiness.
Thank you. So that you know, I would ask myself the question, well, am I actually achieving that? When I go to a Srimad Bhagavatam class, or when I pick up the Srimad Bhagavatam to read it, am I, you know, experiencing that joy? Am I experiencing that satisfaction that the heart and the ears, like, you know, I'm drinking it, like the sages of Naimishranya were drinking the juice of the Bhagavatam through their ears. They were so keen to hear it.
И въпросът, който ще се задам, дали аз изпитвам такава радост, когато отворя Шримад Бхагаватам и отида на Шримад Бхагаватам клас, дали ще се наслаждавам на слушането, както мъдреците в Наймишрания са пиели нектара на слушането с ушите си.
Да, значи въпросът е дали слушаме Шримад Бхагаватам с вкус, т.е. гладни да усещаме като едно поглъщане това нещо с голямо желание.
Whether we go to hear Srimad Bhagavatam with taste, with desire, with hunger to hear and become happy.
Както когато Махендра Прабhu сутрин чете Шримад Бхагаватам.
Like when we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam.
Thank you. And one of the ladies, and we'll finish with this one. Go ahead. Messaging.
Задаваме си въпроса дали, когато четем и слушаме Шримад Бхагаватам, дали го разбираме и го приемаме така, както са пили от нектар, един вид са го пили като нектар.
We are asking ourselves whether we have the same attitude when we hear and read Srimad Bhagavatam as the sages of mention and who drank by listening classically. That was a nectar.
Thank you. So, just to conclude on the point, that the next level would be, well, if I'm completely honest with myself, the answer is no. I go to Bhagavatam class and I'm like struggling to stay awake. And, you know, I'd rather watch the football than read the Srimad Bhagavatam. Or I'd, you know, rather talk about what's happening, some Gramya Katha, in the, you know, some scandals, than discuss Srimad Bhagavatam. So the question would be, what should I do about that? This is where I am, that's where I'd like to be, how can I close the gap?
Ако трябва да съм напълно искрен, трябва да си призная, че всъщност нямам този вкус и желание и вместо да чета Шримад Бхагаватам, може би ще гледам футбол или ще обсъждам някакви скандали. И ако знам какво искам да постигна и къде съм сега, въпросът е как да го достигна това.
Prabhu, can you reflect back?
Самия вътрешен вкус се възпитава и ако аз се занимавам с други неща, не с духовна практика, аз няма да мога да го развия, докато улавяйки искрите на преданост и непрекъснато практикувайки, аз мога да ги разгоря в истински огън на преданост.
You also gave an answer. He says the spark of devotion can come by associating and practicing.
Okay, that was a response. Thank you very much. Maybe we can come to that after. One lady before we finish? Yeah?
So your reflection will be that if you go to Srimad Bhagavatam class, you are struggling to not fall asleep, or you prefer to do some Gramya Katha or talk about some sports. And by this reflection, you think about how to close the gap between the goal that you want to achieve. That means that you will bring the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam and you will feel joy in your heart.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So we're running out of time, so I'm going to stop. But that last evidence, we haven't got to it. But that would have been the next thing that this verse, Satam Prasangam, is telling us is Shraddha should be coming. That as well as the taste, faith, Shraddha. So what is Shraddha? And I've given an evidence for that. You can look at that in your own time.
И аз също дам доказателство. Единият от резултатите също е, че ще се развие вярата и може да погледнете в своето си време стиха, който съм цитирал.
So I'll stop there because we've reached the end. But maybe we should take a couple of questions because I think some of you did have.
Ще спра до тук, защото напредна времето.
First Krishna Prabhu, you had a question?
Ако имате някакви въпроси.
Sorry, first Krishna Prabhu, my apologies.
I was thinking there are two questions. The first one I already stated, so I can maybe repeat it briefly. It was if the yogis are not bhaktas, then how would they mix bhakti in their practices to achieve success? And if they know bhakti, why would they at all perform the other processes? What is the use of other processes if they know about bhakti? That's like contradicting to me. And the second one was Shravanam, hearing. And
Just start with one question.
Yeah, okay.
Can you translate that?
Yeah, sure.
Want to translate?
Моят въпрос към Кришна Дхарма Прабу е, че йогите, които практикуват карма йога, гьяна йога, аштанга йога, ние чухме в разговора, че те трябва да практикуват бхакти също, за да постигнат успех. Моят въпрос е, ако те не разбират върховната личност, Бога, как тогава те могат да смесят бхакти в техния процес?
So you're asking a question that, first of all, how would a yogi incorporate the practice of bhakti into his other practices? And the second part of the question is, why would he do anything? If he knows about bhakti, then, like we know about bhakti, we're not going to waste our time doing other kinds of yoga practices, you know. So why would someone who has that knowledge do their other forms of practice? Yeah? Do you have a response? How would you answer it?
I guess I do, but I want to hear what
Sorry?
You have an answer, why don't you say that?
Yeah, no.
What would I say?
Yeah, we like first in the process to get the answer.
My answer to this would be that these practices, karma, jnana, ashtanga, they can, because they're authoritative practices, in the process of doing them, they can get exposed to bhakti, they can get purified to understand bhakti. So they are not useless, in other words, because they can be a stepping stone to bhakti. And therefore, whatever they are doing may not be directly awarding them self-realization or liberation, but it will purify them enough for them to be ready to receive bhakti when the opportunity arises. So, in other words, it's not useless.
Oh, can you say it in Bulgarian?
Как мога да си отговоря сам на въпроса, който си задам, е, че тези процеси карма, йога, дhyāna йога, аштанга йога не са безполезни, според мен, защото когато хората ги практикуват, те се пречистват, тъй като те са авторитетни процеси, дадени на ведите. Те се пречистват, практикувайки ги, и стават готови да приемат бхакти, когато възможността е там, когато срещнат някой, който практикува бхакти. Това е пречистване, поради практикуването на тия други процеси, може да им позволи да приемат бхакти. Така че не са безполезни.
So you're saying that the other processes do have value, and that their value is they can prepare you for bhakti. So in and of themselves, they don't have specific value because bhakti is required, but they're helpful in that they, like preparing the ground to plant a seed, they can achieve that. Is that right?
I understood him a little bit differently.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I understood you to be saying because the other processes are authorized processes given in the Vedas.
Yes.
They're a lifestyle, or so the Vedas have establishes those processes in a way that they're actually exposed to bhakti.
Yes.
So as part of karma yoga, the karma yogi will sometimes hear from a pure devotee. It may not be his main priority, but sometimes he will hear when he does a yajna. Or the jnana yogi, and he's studying his shastra, he will sometimes hear from a pure devotee, he will sometimes do some bhakti. Because that's integrated into their process, exposure. And that exposure gradually purifies them until they begin to realize the value of the hearing more than what they are doing. Is that what you meant, or did I misunderstand?
I think, yeah, both of you have captured different aspects, so, and I think they're both good.
Thank you.
Did you just...
Аз разбрах това, което каза, че тези процеси сами по себе си не са достатъчно, но всъщност с стъпка към достигане на бхакти, защото ни дават възможност да се докоснем до бхакти чрез самото им практикуване, понеже те са авторитетни, като например докато се следва карма, човек може да чуе, че се предане, докато развива гьяна, да чете и също да чуе, че се предане, така да се докосне до бхакти и да се пречисти.
Thank you. I think do we have to stop? 25 past. it's time, isn't it?
I wanted to ask one
Time
more.
is 8:25.
Yeah, normally you finish 20 past. Is it?
8:30.
8:30? And did you want to ask one more question?
Yeah,
Anyone else?
we can hear.
Yeah, go ahead then.
Yeah. This was the second question that came to my mind. In the context of what Prabhu said earlier, he said that the process of attentive hearing is not about ultimately learning what to think, but how to think. Okay. So now, my question is, isn't the process of Shravana, in one sense, a process that leads us to the practice of what to think rather than how to think?
Okay, I'll translate.
You wait 30. We can go.
Okay, no problem.
I can translate.
Oh, sorry, translate, yeah.
Въпросът ми беше, Прабу каза малко по-рано, че да внимаваме в слушането не означава да не е казвано какво да мислим, а как да мислим. Okay? Това е много важно. Не какво да мислим, а как да мислим. Okay? Обаче има едно противоречие, защото шравана все пак означава слушане на информация, която ни е давана от някой. С други думи, какво да мислим. Това е противоречие.
Yeah. So, do you have an answer there? I should answer that, really, shouldn't I?
Yeah, sure.
To me, the mind is a tool which we can engage in Krishna's service, and all I was really saying is, how do we use the mind? We don't want to be fed information which someone else has digested, someone else is understanding, but we need to understand for ourselves. You know, instead of giving someone potatoes, teach them how to grow their own potatoes. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. Actually, bhakti goes beyond the mind. It's not a mental process at all. The mind is just an instrument. It's a material thing. So how can we use the mind in order to achieve the realizations of Krishna consciousness is the question.
Въпросът е, че умът е един инструмент, как може да го използваме, за да достигнем Кришна. И процесът, който аз казвам, е, че трябва да се опитваме да го използваме, за да вникваме, а не да ни се дава някой да ни храни, като ни дава готово разбиране, без да мислим. Вместо да даваме някои картофи, може да го научим как да си отглежда картофи. И това е, което имах предвид.
May I ask a question about this answer? Първо, понеже Шрила Прабхупад ни казва, че ние трябва да слушаме от себепознава се душа, защото ние сме замърсени и трябва да слушаме душа, която е разбрала. Как да разбираме това нещо? Не можем ли, ако ползваме този метод, няма ли изкривено да почнем да си правим своите изводи?
We have to hear from a self-realized soul and how to understand in that regard what you just said. If we, isn't there a danger that we can make our own misinterpretation?
If we are impure.
Yeah, if we're impure. Okay. Yeah, there's a danger. So that's why we're trying to hear from Prabhupada. He's the self-realized soul. And that's why we're suggesting this process of discussing with others, so that, you know, we may misinterpret on our own. When we're reading the book, we may, you know, through our own filter, through our own paradigm, conditioning, misunderstand. But when we come together, satam prashangam, with other devotees, then it really helps to overcome those blocks.
Да, има тази опасност, но ако сме сами и четем, може да не разберем погрешно, да си направим погрешни изводи, но ако го правим заедно с другите преданни, обсъждаме и тогава ще е по-малко вероятно да се случи.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much.
Jai. Jai.